Hello and welcome to today's astrology study group. And I want to share with you the chart of the United States. So let's go right ahead and look at that. All right. So you can chart something because this was a birth. You could do a birth of a company, a business, a partnership, just by setting the time and the place and the location. So we know that the United States birthday is July 4th, 1776, and we know it was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And this is the best time that most astrologers agree on is 5:10 in the afternoon. So if this is the case, we just run a chart just like we normally do for a person. And we look at all the planets and the houses and the angles just like we do for a person. And we can see the transits as well. So we are going to look at that. So the first thing let's notice is, of course, the sun sign. The sun is in Cancer, 13 degrees Cancer. And we just noticed that it's in the 7th house. And we see that the United States, we see the sun in Cancer in the 7th house, and then we also see several other planets in the United States' 7th house. Several of them are in Cancer, and one of them is in Gemini. And again, we can start, we can do a chart of anything. We're doing it of the start of our country. This is when that Declaration of Independence was signed at that time. I guess when it was, either they all signed it or they started signing it. I'm not sure exactly how they got the 5:10, but that's agreed upon. You can do the start of a business, a relationship, a partnership, a company, to see its potential. So United States is a summer, and it's a sun in Cancer, and it has a Sagittarius rising. So this is just the energy of the United States, the birth of this nation. It has a birth date just like anything else. So Sagittarius rising, look at that, at 12 degrees, and that would make an inconjunct over there to the sun at 13. It's like 1 degree off. 19 minutes, 21 minutes, a degree in a couple minutes. So that's pretty close just on that, but we're not going to micro in on that. I just noticed that, right away. My mind is trained to look at those numbers to jump, that they jump out at me. Okay, so we have a Sag rising, and we have Pluto over here in the 2nd house. We have a moon in Aquarius. Look at that, Aquarius moon, 27 degrees. And then we also have this nice little grouping of planets over here in the 7th house. We have everything that's around the sun. We have Mercury, because we mentioned before, it travels close to the sun. It can either be in the same sign as the sun, the sign before it, or the sign after it. So it could have been in Cancer, Leo, or Gemini, and it is in the same sign. So it's not quite conjunct. And then the United States also has 2 other planets there in Cancer. It has Jupiter and it has Venus. Now those are conjunct. Jupiter and Venus, look at that, 2 degrees apart. One's at 3 and one's at 5. So that's one of the first things that jumps out at me as I'm starting to look at this a little bit. So Jupiter and Venus, those are the great benefics. Those are the, other than the sun, those are the 2 benefic planets. The moon is the moon. It's not a planet. Saturn and Pluto and Mars are malefics. Mercury is more neutral. Uranus is surprising. Neptune is kind of the underworld. Not really either way. Well, I guess it depends. But I mean, as far as benefics, malefics, these Venus and Jupiter are considered the great benefics. So they are conjunct. And that is really interesting, that the United States is the land of opportunity. It's big. Jupiter enhances anything that it's near. So it is magnifying Venus. Jupiter is magnifying Venus. So Venus is what's pleasurable, what's, Pleasure is what you want to pursue, money, interests. So that is why we are the land of opportunity in the United States. And it's not so close to the sun that it burns it out. Sometimes when things are close to the sun, it burns it out. But look at it. I like to see this kind of placement. Jupiter is between the sun and Venus. So that's magnifying, but it's that big planet now is between the sun. So it's going to block some of that harsh energy, you know, of the sun burning out Venus there. So it's what it makes it also so comfortable. And then on the other side, we have Mercury over there in Cancer, and it's a little bit far away from the sun to not be burned out by it. See, it's 11 degrees away. So it's still in the same sign, but it's a little farther, which is good. So it's not so burnt out by the sun. You know, when we find that the closer Mercury gets to the sun, the closer it has. Now I got to remember, a conjunction is something that is like so fused together that the person or the being doesn't see it. Like the closer Mercury gets to the sun, maybe the more communicative, vocal, mouthy. So if it's right on it, then you don't see it. It's like if you can look at me, I'm gonna just like I'm just gonna grab something here, and oh, here, this is fun. I'm just gonna grab anything here. Here's a piece of selenite. Okay, I'm just gonna go like this, you know, put it here. And then like, and then I'll just pretend like I don't know it's there. This is a conjunction. This is like so much a part of me. So I don't see this thing, but people, I don't know why people say that I look like a unicorn. You know, they just nickname me that, and I don't have any clue. I don't know why they do that. See, a conjunction is that everybody sees that, but you. So it just blends in so much. Give you an example. My husband has Uranus conjunct the sun, and he will do things that are shocking. Like he'll wear a t-shirt that's just got something really interesting on it, something shocking, bold, a statement, you know, and then he'll just put that on in the morning, and then sometimes he forgets that he has it, and he might go out and walk the dog, and it's kind of inappropriate maybe for the neighborhood or something. And he just doesn't realize it at all. So he's at shock factor. It's just, everybody else sees it. It's like, oh, I didn't know. oh, yeah. So things like that, a conjunction, you sort of forget that it's so much a part of you. Sometimes I find with Mercury close to the sun, it gives people a vocal quality. They could excessively talk, or they could sing a lot. It's like some people, it's so funny, you say, you might say, oh, it's, you know, just up and away, and they'll go up and away, you know, they start singing, they break out in song. I was on the phone yesterday, I don't know, talking to somebody at tech support, you know, and hello, this is Miguel, how can I help you? You know, and then he goes, okay, this is Miguel, my number is blah, 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 blah. How can I serve you today? And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. That's pretty entertaining. Somebody, you know, I bet you he's got Mercury conjunct the sun. I was going to ask him his birth date, place, and time. But anyway, so those are the things that are like a conjunction. So with the United States, I mean, that's what the sun, but we have this overflowing abundance, this just, you know, if we look at the conjunction that's here with Jupiter and Venus, it's large too. And it's large, largely a plenty, large variety, large resources, large amount of ability to make money, to grow. So that is all that conjunction. Had to say a lot of it because it's very important. It's very big right here, this little grouping, tight grouping. Then let's go here and look at Mars. Now Mars is in Gemini. So it's in a positive sign. It's sextile from what it normally is. You know, it's home sign because Mars, you know, Aries rules Mars. Mars rules Aries, and it's in 2 signs away. So that would make it positive, just by element. So that's good. You know, that it's a good place for Mars. Mars doesn't mind being there. It's, you know, energetic. It's busy. It's wide. It's variety. So there's more energy for variety. And isn't that like the United States? Now you'll notice that all of that stuff is over here in the 7th house of partnerships. In the United States is built on partnerships. I mean, we're just a nation of immigrants, you know, just so much diversity. So that's very interesting that it's all of that about me and you. It's not just as self-centered. Like if all that was in the 1st house, it would really, really be a me first. But, you know, the United States comes to people's aid. I'm talking about the people. I'm not talking about the government, the cabal, the deep state, the slime that has, you know, co-opted parts of government and have co-opted it through the years, different from what the founding forefathers, hard, easy to say, had set up. So this is just about the integrity of the people, the country, that the energy of that itself. And I think most people would understand that. That thinks about it. All right, variety, versatility. You know, again, the United States, if without all the government officials, our very people are independent and they come to your aid at the same time. All right, let's go deeper. So we said all this little stuff over here. We'll talk about moon nodes another time. That's a whole thing. This little upside down weird little thing here on the top in the 8th house is a moon node. And we'll do a whole class on that. But let's talk about what we can talk about. Let's go over here. So since we're up over here, we'll look at Neptune. And Neptune we have over here in Virgo. And look at that, at the top of the United States chart. I got to move my little thing. It's in the way. White bar. Okay, top of the United States chart is, and we've got to look at the top of the 10th house. I mean, it's kind of skewed the way it is because of the largeness of some of the houses. But if you see the top of the 10th house, we have Virgo, and then right there at the midheaven, we have it. It's at 1 degree Libra. Now, isn't that cool? I think that's cool because, I mean, that's balance. That's like what, you know, the natural ruler of the 7th house, and that's what has all these planets in there. But Libra is also justice and fairness. I mean, I'm not going anywhere politically, but the people and what the country itself, and, you know, the people in this country, what they stand for and what it was built upon. It was built upon justice. It was built upon equality. It was built upon, you know, people's, you know, freedom and doing what it took to create freedom. And that is just, I mean, it's stellar. And that's right there at the midheaven, which is like its job, its occupation, what it does, where it does out in the world. And that's very interesting. And we'll get to what's happening now. Okay, so then we have over here in the 10th house is Saturn in Libra at 14 degrees. So now that's nice because it really, I think, softens Saturn and gives it because Saturn can be harsh. I mean, it's the emperor kind of, it's, you know, the emperor card. It's boundaries and limitations and constriction, but it's also rules, but it's like you can't build a house or do something without some kind of rules. You know, you got to have some sort of geometric rules. It's like, well, if we're going to build a square house to have the roof be on, we got to measure. We got to make sure that's accurate. So that's the good side of Saturn, but it can be a but when it's just too much, you know, it's like too constrictive and too tight and too on your butt. And we all know what that's like from this past year, excessive Saturn stuff. So that's over there in the 10th house. Now that's interesting because Capricorn rules Saturn, and it's the natural Saturn. I mean, it would be Capricorn would be the natural 10th house ruler. So the fact that, I mean, we have Libra there, but we have Saturn, which rules Capricorn in that 10th house, it kind of makes it kind of good. Because we have some alliance with that. Let me say that again. The 10th house would be the natural house of Capricorn. The 10th house is, you know, the 10th sign, because then the 11th would be Aquarius, the 12th would be Pisces, and then we're back to first Aries, is, you know, that correlation. So, and then Saturn, and, you know, the home of Capricorn or Saturn is Capricorn. and Saturn is in there. So Saturn is in the house that it's at its home in. It's not in its home sign, but it's in its home house, in a nice place to be. It doesn't mind being there. I mean, if Venus ruled Libra is nice, and it's about balance and partnership, which further makes some nice energy. Well, let me put it this way. Ideal energy, but it's going to be making some squares over here to all of this stuff in Cancer. So we've got some boundaries, you know, with people, with things because of the Saturn. But let's see, with the Sun, we've got a nice square with that, you know, to 1 degree. It's 13 degrees, and then we have that at 14 degrees, and we know that those are both cardinal signs, so they're both squares. So the United States has got a Sun square Saturn, you know, and that's kind of a putting a little limitation on the Sun. You know, but we need some squares. You can't have it just be all ease, otherwise it gets lazy. So that's a good one to have, because it does put in some kind of father figure, some kind of, what's the word I want to say with it? Some healthy boundaries, some healthy restrictions, because you have to, it's like to have a road, you got to have, you know, where the guide rails are. So I think that sort of acts as like guide rails to the United States. All right, and down here in the second house, we have Pluto. Pluto in the second house. Second house is possessions. So it's in Capricorn. You know, Pluto's naturally, you know, at home in Scorpio, and, you know, Mars is the co-ruler, or Aries has a affiliation, but being over here in the second house, which is a natural house of Taurus, and it's in Capricorn, which would then trine that Taurus, I mean the Capricorn energy. So that is good, because that energy is trining that. Okay, so what I mean by that, Pluto is in the second house. The second house is naturally kind of Taurus ruled, Taurian ruled house. And it has an earth, you know, this planet being in an earth sign, in an earth house, is congruent, and it happens to be a trine. It's not in Taurus, it would be conjunct. It would have to be either in Virgo or Capricorn. It's in Capricorn. So that makes it kind of interesting, kind of, you know, we got a little good thing because there's some nicety, you know, with that trine. But Pluto and Capricorn, you know, this is definitely death, rebirth, regeneration of money and stuff that's real grounding. It's a financial giant. It's a financial foundation. It's a sturdy, solid, transformative financial bounty. That's what I would say of that mix. Just trying to give you some keywords. But see, we can look all these up. This is what's so cool about this. You can get paragraphs and paragraphs of meaning. But let's move on ahead here. Then we go on and we see the moon is over here in this calm, cool, and collected Aquarius. Also, Aquarius deals with, remember, others, outward. It's the group, the society. It's kind of altruistic. It's not personal. It's not a personal connection. It's more of a worldly. And again, the United States is moon, you know, that emotional side. It's not like a sappy kind of country. It's more of a worldly, a higher class, more sophisticated emotional overtone. I don't know now, because things are so led by the media that we have to, that those are filters over the undertones. So that may be a hard one to see, but just the overall energy is that higher mind. So that moon, okay, so this is interesting too. So we have the moon in a air sign. It's a lower or less emotional sign, more mental. And then we have the mind, you know, the Mercury is thinking, it's in an emotional sign of Cancer. So they're kind of opposite, you know, the mind qualities, the mental part is in a feeling, you know, it thinks, feel, and then it feels, think. I hope that makes sense. They're sort of opposite things like that, or mutually receptive, we could say, on sort of. So that's interesting. And it's 27 degrees. Now, and then over here, we're going to come up on the other side, and it was born, the United States was born when the collective conscious was in, Uranus was in Gemini, 8 degrees Gemini. So that Uranian energy was very Gemini, that spark, that creativeness, that thinking outside the box, that don't know what's going to happen next, was in that don't know what's going to happen next kind of sign. And, you know, that was that era. And, you know, we mentioned before some of the rates of these planets. Uranus is about 8 years, I believe, 8 to 9 years through a house. So it was almost, you know, United States here, it's almost done with that house, but I mean with that per sign, not per house, per sign. So it's going to stay in that sign for about 8 years. So in the United States, it had kind of fairly moved into Gemini. We can see it's only 8 degrees. There's probably a couple of years into Gemini. Okay, so now let's look at, let's just look at any other things we might want to see here. We already saw an opposition. We have Mercury over here opposing Pluto, and we have a 3-degree orb, and that's not real tight, but it is, you know, it's I don't like to go more than 3 degrees for anything in the outer planets. The closer the better, but we still have that that mind is opposite of that death reformation, that transformation. So it kind of is like creating a balance of transformation, maybe. I like to think about sometimes opposition as a balance. And it's also other people's money, Mercury, and Pluto is in our money or our resources. So that's interesting. And it doesn't have it, and then there's a T-square, but not totally by degree with Saturn over here. See, it's far enough by degree. It's 14 degrees, and that was 27, it was 24. So it's a little bit wide it really involves Saturn, but it's there by the degree. All right, anything else that I see real quick? Water. All right, I'll probably see a few things, but let's look at the bi-wheel. Let's look at, okay, today's transits. Let's just look at that. Today, November 10th, 2020, 11/10/2020. Whoops, I don't want that. Okay, and again, the rising sign and all that is just because I just did this at this time. You know, it's I did this chart at 4:19 p.m. Eastern time, and it just happened to be Aries rising about then, but that's insignificant because we're just looking at where everything is in the sky right now. So we're still with the sun in Scorpio. It's at 18 degrees. We're looking over here at in the 7th house, and we can see Mercury is at 29 degrees. Look at 58 minutes, Libra, just minutes away. Probably by the end of this, if I ran this again, it may have moved into this next sign. You know, Mercury is just about ready to move into Scorpio. Look at that. Look at that. Okay, Venus is in, I said it was in Libra, about to move into Scorpio. And then Venus is over here in Libra, over here, 16 degrees. We have the moon in Virgo right now. Uranus is in Taurus. It's at 8 degrees. I think we saw something in the United States chart at 8 degrees. We'll look again. I think it's the Uranus, but we'll look in a second. We have Mars in Aries. It's 15 degrees Aries retrograde, and it is going to turn direct on Friday the 13th. Mars will turn direct. Also on Thursday, here, look at this. Look, well, let's just get up there a second. Okay, we'll just go straight there. On the top of the chart, we have all these guys over here in Capricorn, and look at Pluto and Jupiter are at 22 degrees Capricorn, and Thursday they're going to be exact by minute. Look at right now there's 50 minutes, and then the other one's 32 minutes, and Jupiter is gaining speed, and it's going to exactly conjunct. You know, it's the 3rd time, and it will move past it. Then in December, it will conjunct God, I'm losing it here. Saturn, but they'll both move into the next sign of Aquarius. This is just crazy, the times that we're living in. I mean, this is just unprecedented. But look at this. So Thursday and Friday, this week is probably a very, very pivotal week in United States history and just in history in general. Because this, I mean, we're living through some stuff that, it's like hundreds or thousands of years to get anything like this lined up again. Okay, so in a couple days, you're probably feeling, look at this large transformation. Isn't that what's happening on the planet right now? I mean, Pluto is transformation. It's in Capricorn, and then we have Jupiter right on top of it. So Jupiter magnifies anything it gets close to. So it's going to magnify death, rebirth, transformation, stuff dredged up from the underworld, things coming out in the open, secrets revealed. Pluto is like Pandora's box. And we got Jupiter on that. We're going to open up this all over the world. It has been. It's been that way all year. It's been a planet will transit, it'll go retrograde, it'll go back over it, and then it'll transit forward one more time. This is the third one. Then again, it will go on, and then it will conjunct, it'll meet up over here, Jupiter is the fastest moving of all these. So it's going to pass Pluto, and then it's going to keep going and going toward its conjunction with Saturn. But Saturn is going to be moving ahead. It's gaining speed now. And by the time that they conjunct, they will both be into Aquarius. And that will be like right on, I think, around the solstice of December 21st, I believe, that they will then be conjunct. So then we'll have that last hit, I believe, of Jupiter conjuncting right on Saturn. Okay, so then we're going to magnify. Okay, it's going to go from magnifying death and rebirth and transformation to magnifying limitations. So we're going to get some limitations again. And I'm just telling you the astrology. But this is interesting, okay? The last two times they conjuncted, they were in Capricorn. Now they're going to conjunct in Aquarius. So it'll be interesting to see how that will be different. Okay, it won't be so strict, the structure and the lockdown-ish, the, Capricorn, the earthy, the, lockdown, that kind of thing. It'll be interesting because we're going to have that in an air sign. So it'll be interesting to see what that type of connection, and they're going to travel together. See, now as soon as that passes that and it's going to gain speed, they're going to be close as we go on into the end of November and then into December. And then as it goes on, then they're going to just travel and move together. Then that square is just, they're going to continue a bit together. Let me look on the ephemeris. Oh, let's see when that is. All right, so they will travel together. Let's see, they'll meet. This was so nice about ephemeris. I'd call it up, but it'll be faster for me to do this. They, when is that? The 20th is when they meet up, and then they'll be traveling together. 1 to 2 degrees into January, beginning of January. And then Jupiter starts moving ahead a little bit more. But still the first week of January, they're only going to be 2 degrees apart. They'll just be 2 degrees apart. So Jupiter and Saturn, so I'm looking up Jupiter and Saturn as they conjunct, and they'll be moving ahead in January. And they'll be staying, Jupiter's going to slowly gain speed. By the end of the month of January, they'll only be like 4 degrees apart. So we're going to have this square. We're going to be moving into this. Like right now, it's 4 degrees apart. See, 22 Jupiter, and then 26 Saturn. So those are 4 degrees apart. So it's going to take to the end of January before they're more than 4 degrees apart. It's going to be past it, and they'll be in the next sign. So we're going to be following this for a while. Let me just give you the heads up on the next 2.5 months. So it's going to be an interesting time, and it's also a time to see what's coming up and to not be afraid of exploring the truth. And it's kind of like another, almost another part of our history, but we've got two fractions happening. We've got definite truth, and then we've got definite lies that are happening right now. All right, now let's go over, just wanted to point out a little bit of this right now. So let's go and look at both. This is the transits of right now. And I'm going to do, it's called a bi-wheel. And we will put United States on the inner and then the transits on the outer. That's always how I like to do it. And that is okay, I like that. All right, let me move my little window here. Okay, so we've got the United States with it's in the center, and it has its Sagittarius rising, and it has this nice little grouping, you know, all over here. Look at that, kind of a, well, not really a splay pattern. I have to look at that another time. But now look here, looky here, looky here. United States, you know, all of these things in Capricorn. You know, now look at the latest degrees, you know, 22, 20, you know, 26. And we look over here at the United States, we remember that it has all that stuff in Cancer. It's already gone over all of this stuff. It hasn't hit Mercury yet. Saturn is hitting Mercury. It has, because it's at, you know, it opposed Mercury 2 degrees ago. But all of this other stuff already hit the United States. It opposed its Venus, and then it opposed its Jupiter, and then opposed its Sun. Haven't we had a real tough year? And even some of the, even longer, you know, as Pluto, it takes a little longer. So last 4 years, this whole kind of election cycle, you know, we know, you know, well, Donald Trump is not a team player of the group that is in the White House. He's not a member of the Trilateral Commission. He's not a member of the Skull and Bones. He's not a member of the, oh God, all those groups. My mind is not into all that right now, but those big groups, did I say Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, the UN, you know, all of these really big money cartel groups. And shit has hit the fan. And look at the United States. I mean, you know, we can compare him, the United States, and all this is what's really fun about astrology. But I just have to give you some background on maybe a little bit of why. But all of these planets for the last 4 years have been going over the United States, is, you know, that what it likes, that Venus and Jupiter, and then its Sun. You know, it's like it's just been just this dour, dampening, mudslinging, restrictive, combative energy. Luckily, that is all passing all that, and it's just now passing the tail end of all of that nice Cancer stellium the United States has. It's going over its Mercury, its communications. So all of this last bit of stuff here, Saturn already went squared the United States's Mercury, you know, because it's 26 degrees, it's past it now. So there, it has stifled communications or changed or restricted, you know, Saturn restriction. Mercury communications. Now, hasn't that been true? Totally. As far as like putting something over your head, putting a diaper on your face, you know, I mean, really, astrology just is so crazy accurate. It makes you just want to do a backflip, you know. So then now we have the Jupiter and the Pluto going to be opposing United States as Mercury. So Jupiter's going to do it first. So we're going to have, I say to me, big restrictions on speech. I mean, this is being censored to me, you know, censored by big tech. You know, it's like big, you know, you got opposition, big censorship to, you know, it's like doing something here to Mercury. It's not a nice angle, an opposition, you know, an opposition or square is limiting that. So it's challenging Mercury. That's your communications. Yeah. So look at that. Like in second house is like money, possessions, and then it's opposing in that 8th house of other people's, you know, everybody else's, you know, opposing everybody else's way to communicate or forcing it to be a different way, or imposing something on communications. You know, making you wear a mask is imposing something on your communications. Making you stay home is imposing on your communications. All right. So that's happening, and then that's going to happen even more, you know, because it's been, you know, jockeying around, but now as it goes on, as it goes over there, it's, you know, it's going to go on and pass it very soon. And then the next couple years, it's not totally gone. We're going to have a rough couple more years, really. I mean, it may not be as intense in a certain way, but it's still going to be a rough ride next couple of years, because then we have Pluto, which takes so frickin' long. It's going to go like 21, or what, 21, 22, 23, 22, 21, 20, 22, and then over 24, it's going to be banging on the United States' communications, Mercury, you know, Pluto transforming the communications. And here more of this big tech, these forces beyond your control are limiting, blocking, challenging your communication, your ways to communicate, or communicating, challenging you to communicate at home or about the home, because we have, you know, Cancer is, you know, rules home. So we have those restrictions at home or about home. So we have all of these little mix. You can see, as I just say these adjectives about these, how this, you know, and then there's things around the world, you know, there's probably worse in other countries, you know, having some of these same kind of things. But we're looking at the United States. Okay. We already had some of the big squares here now with all, I mean, the squares with all of that over to Saturn. So as those were backing up, as we had those in earlier degrees, you know, Jupiter has been all this year, and it's now at 22 degrees, but it went over Saturn, you know, was squaring to Saturn. So we have big limitations, you know, Jupiter, big, Saturn, limit. So we've had big limitations. Just gone through this last year. You know, we can go look at the months exactly, you know, when it was, and in fact, let me do that real quick. So to prove it to you, it's fun. So let's see, we started, let's see, Jupiter, it's like right around in, let's see, then it went retrograde, it went back. So let's see, Jupiter was humming along, February, right around in February, it was 14 degrees that I'm looking for. Yep, right at the beginning of February, it hit 14 degrees, and that's when it started, you know, it squared our Saturn, and then it went past that, all the way past it, and then it went retrograde in May. So then it went past it again. I mean, it started backing up, and it went, let's see how far, May, let's see, September. Okay, then it went, in September, it went direct at 17 degrees. So it was close, but not, you know, that first lockdown was then, you know, February, March, April, it all kind of started. But then, you know, in September, it was close. It went back up to 17. It didn't hit it, you know, didn't go to 14, but it went to 17. So we were close. A lot of places still got locked down and are. Okay, so that happened. What else do we got here? But now we've got Pluto, you know, is still, it's still going to go over the communications here. But all these other amigos are going to move out of orbit to the United States. All right, what else do we have here? Right now, looking at numbers and things jumping out, we got these 22 degrees, and look over here, United States, it is, you know, we've got Neptune 22 degrees Virgo. So Virgo is an earth sign, and these guys over here an earth sign. So thank God, you know, but it's also showing a little bit of disillusion, a little bit of illusion, you know, because we got big and we've got transformative and issues that are coming up from underneath, and it's making a trine over here to Neptune. And the trine on this, softer aspects can be the veil. It's like, oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. This is where I'm saying that the big lies are kind of coming from. This is shedding light on that. But as those two pass, I mean, it's going to be at that degree, you know, like I said, Thursday, that they're going to be exact. And then as it passes that degree, I think people are going to start seeing through the veil once we get it off of that 22 degrees. those that conjuncting that Neptunian veil limitations behind the scenes, using substances to hide behind. That's been a big thing. You know, people, a lot more substance abuse, you know, look at those things have been right over there. So, okay, so big thing Thursday. Big thing Thursday, these two planets down here, you can see this is the transits are happening now on this outer wheel, and the United States chart is in this inner wheel. So these two guys on the out here, this Jupiter and this Pluto, are both at the 22 degrees, and they're just minutes apart. Thursday, they will be exact. So again, that's Jupiter is big, and Pluto is transformations, things from underneath, things being revealed, death, rebirth. So big, that anything that Jupiter's by, it magnifies that. Then and then Jupiter, because it's a faster orbit, it will pass Pluto, and then it will go on and to make its conjunction to Saturn. But Saturn will be moving ahead, and they will make their conjunction in December on the 20th in the next sign. And they'll be traveling together there for, what did I say, till the end of January, making it square. Okay, what else do I see? What do I see? So we're in for some, you know, United States is in for a next couple years. The next 2.5 months is definitely some more heavy stuff. Definitely some more really heavy stuff. It's going to create things that people have to look at, you know, because it's challenging the United States. And the next 2 years are not out of the woods yet, because this Pluto is still dragging butt, you know, and it's going to be squaring our communications, which is, you know, transforming the way we have to communicate. Again, from everything from mask, trying to put, you know, to force us to do that, and to social condition, and to force us for the inoculations, you know, to trying to force, you know, things on people. And this stuff is going on. It's going to be met with huge resistance. All right, let's look at what else is going on now. We've got Mars. It's a little faster moving planet. It's over here at 15 degrees. It's in Aries. And it's, you know, you should think of this cardinal signs. These are the squares. That's why I'm picking on them first. It's over here squaring this stuff. And it was worse. I mean, it's now 15, so this stuff is past that. So we have had a lot of uprising and a lot of violence, because all this stuff, when it's squaring, squares are not easy. And then when it's something like, you know, Mars is that martial energy, and then in Aries is that it's in its home sign of being a warrior, and it wants to go take care of stuff. It's like, yeah, I want to go get this crap out of here. I want to go. But it's meeting up against this huge resistance. It's meeting up against, you know, Mars is meeting up against this huge big planets. You know, it's Jupiter, the biggest planet. Saturn, the most restrictive, the one that's like the restriction limitations, and Pluto, the planet of like death and transformation. So it hasn't been a nice little battle for Mars, and it's retrograde. Now it's gonna start passing us. So it's gonna move forward in speed now, and Friday it'll go direct. Friday 13th it will go direct. So we'll start seeing it in forward motion. And let's look at the United States. Okay, so we noticed that we've got squares to this too. So we're looking at degrees, 15 degrees. It's already past these. It's already past the United States's, you know, by squaring Venus and Jupiter, and it already passed the sun. So it's all past all that stuff, which is a good relief, but then it's still gonna go on, and it's gonna square the communications. So we've got it from both ends. We're going to, our communications are gonna be trying to be limited. I'm seeing this with people being censored, and the rise of big tech and being able to censor people. Mars, and you know, we got two types of limiting things on the United States' Mercury. Still gonna happen, still gonna go through. But Mars is gonna be fast, and it's gonna be met with resistance. But the one that's gonna drag its butt is gonna be Pluto. So we're gonna have some problems with this censorship, big tech, platforms, social platforms for like the next couple of years, until this moves out of the sign and gets off of the United States sun. So this is how you can look at transits, and you just apply these same principles to anything, to country, a business, the birth of anything. We just put in the United States' birth date, and this is its, that came up with its chart, which we did in the beginning of this class today. All right, so let's see what else did I notice. I wanted to say this 8 degrees because I did see something else over. Where was I looking? What did I say? Oh yeah. That's what I thought. It was Uranus, but they're just a sign away. So we have Uranus over here presently in Taurus. Doesn't like to be there. I mean, Uranus is sign is, it's an Aquarius. It wants to be out there and be of the mind and electricity and fast moving. It doesn't want to be on the earth, in a Taurus earth sign. Taurus is, wants to be comfortable and secure. Uranus wants to be unpredictable and not comfortable, just movement and doing something new. So it's not like real happy there. In the United States is its Uranus was in Gemini, much more comfortable place for this. So right now we've got an inconjunct, because they're one sign away. So an inconjunct, either, I should say, it's not an inconjunct, it's a semi-sextile, one sign away. An inconjunct is 150 degrees, but it's the same energy. And what it means is like it does not have anything in common. All right, what do I mean by that? Well, we have right now, Taurus is fixed earth, and it's feminine, and Gemini is masculine, and it's an air sign, and it's mutable. So it wants to move on to the next. Taurus is fixed, wants to stay there. Taurus is earth. Gemini is air. So, here's feminine and masculine. So nothing in common. So right now they're at exact, I look at the degrees because there's the energy right now of this Uranian out of the blue want for security is meeting. It doesn't have anything in common with the United States' want to be back to normal, want to be out there, want to be, doing its many things. That this is definitely another constriction. It's like this having this electric energy grounded and stuck in the mud, as opposed to being out there. So this is maybe we don't see eye to eye right now, but this is passing. This is going, at least, it's going to be in the same sign, but it's going to change by degree, and it won't be quite so hard to mix. Like right now, there's like people are not on the same page. They're not seeing eye to eye at all on lots of different, there's one evidence of it right here in the United States. So as that moves off of this 8 degrees, and it's retrograde, but it's not gonna move until like January. And again, that's what I'm telling you, that this is gonna be some crap for a while here. So January, it will retrograde back to 6 degrees Uranus, and it's like the 14th that it goes direct. So that means it's gonna go back over. It's gonna go 6, 7, 8, and hit it again. So it won't get out of that spot until, see, it's 8 degrees into March, and then where are we at with this? It's 8 degrees, like what, 16 or so, 16. So it'll be like April, like spring, before some of that. So we're going to see some tightening and some erraticness and some change and some transformation, and it really, it's like being Americans. We had to fight for our freedom once. We're probably going to have to fight for it again because we're being limited. All of us are being limited, restricted, and it's here in our chart as a country. And this is going to definitely bring up, if you haven't been paying attention, it's going to be harder for you. If you've been following along and paying attention and kind of know what's down the rabbit hole, it'll be more mild. But it's going to be a rude awakening and a wake-up call for a lot of people that have forgot the price that we paid for freedom. What is it, Thomas Jefferson? I think what is it? The tree of liberty has to be watered every now and then with the blood of tyrants and patriots. I think something like that. So this is going to be a wake-up call for a lot of people, especially when this stuff starts going over the Mercury more. More and more and more people are being deplatformed, shadow banned, banned off of Facebook. But, you know, they're creating so many more social medias. What did I hear about today? What was it? Parler is another alternative to Facebook that's not censored. There's Brighteon .social is another one that's not censoring people. There's, you know, true places to get information. Banned.video, B-A-N-N-E-D, banned.video. Uncensored, real information where there's multiple citizen people reporters that get news and report on it and go do the hard work, go do the research. You know, it takes hours to go through this stuff. You know, people are also, you know, one, they're lazy, and two, they're overwhelmed. You know, one or the other. You know, if you're trying to make a living, especially now when so many things are shut down and businesses stopped and, you know, restricted, you're trying to make a living, you don't have time to research. You're exhausted. So this is, you know, it's done by design, but there are people who do, and it's easy once you know, it's just a click of a mouse to go look up somebody and sources that are doing the research, and it's not the mainstream. You know, right now you got to almost believe if it's mainstream saying this, well, then the opposite's true, because, you know, right here, just all of this, you know, we look at the chart, we can see that it's misinformation. We have all this challenges, all these squares, all these oppositions, and we've been going through, and we're going through more. And it's, you know, dealing with the mind of the pulse of the planet. And it's going over, you know, it was all that was going over just, you know, this nice stellium. Look at this, like we talked about in the beginning. United States has Sun, Venus, Jupiter, and Mercury all in Cancer, and it has a nice conjunction of Venus and Jupiter. I mean, Venus, yeah, and Jupiter. You know, just a 2 degree apart. So all of those planets that are in Capricorn had to transit over those early degrees, and that's been tough. That's what I was saying. Last several years, they were going over that, and that's what's like our identity, who we are, what we love. You know, things were just kind of started to be poked. But, you know, the stuff is out in the open now. You know, this stuff is, and again, this stuff is coming out because of the Pluto. You know, it's a death rebirth. These things are just bubbling right up. All right, last little bit. I mean, we can go on for hours about this, and it is fascinating. The moon. We got this Aquarius moon, and that is a fixed sign, and that's over there at 27 degrees. And then remember, we have, okay, Taurus is Uranus and Taurus. That's a fixed sign. So when it transits and it gets over to the end of the sign, you know, it takes, like I said, 8 years. So it'll be a couple of years. Probably, you know, like I said, 2 years when this other Pluto transit moves on. We'll have to look exactly, but that will transit toward the end of Taurus, and then it will be making a square. We'll have Uranus making a square over to the United States moon. Well, that might be really interesting. So there's like a sudden change of home, differentiation of home, because the moon is like, you know, your home. So that we need to examine that a little bit, and then to see what other factors are in play at that time. What else here? Earth sign. Virgo with Neptune, but I say it's going to be out of the degree. I think that will transit on by then. But see, as Neptune, then we'll start making a trine over, I'm sorry, a square. Oh, let's see, what do we got? Oh, yeah, it'll already pass. This stuff will be moved on before it goes on over there. All right, anything else? Let's see, we have transiting. All right, so here we go. Here's our transiting Neptune is over here at 18 degrees. Pisces, let's look at that because it was opposite here. We got that 18, 19, 20. So as that moves on, it'll make a opposition here. This is what I was looking for. It'll make an opposite. We'll have a Neptune opposition. So here's some more disillusionments. It's retrograde now. It'll go direct, and it'll be a few years before it is opposing our natal There it is. Gosh, my mouse is there. Okay, our natal Neptune. So that will come up. We'll have this one down here. I'm looking at down here in the transit, and then here's the United States. So we're going to have a Neptune opposition. That'd be interesting. I bet you those dates will coalesce here. Let's see, then that, let's see. Those right now are making that nice little trine. 22, 22. Yeah, we mentioned that before. So that's making, you know, we said these here, these are 22 degrees over to here to the Neptune. United States is Neptune, and the current 22 degrees Jupiter and Pluto. So that's making, because those are Earth sign, Earth, you know, Capricorn, and then Virgo, Earth. So that is kind of what I think is giving people some disillusionment right now, because that's that Neptune, and then we have the Pluto and the big, you know, again, this big transformative things being covered over, but it's breaking through. Just as this stuff moves on past that, that illusion is, that veil is gonna be lifted as soon as that passes that degree. And you can see that there's just, you know, it's the stuff that's just starting to just like come out, you know. All right, anything else? Let me see real quick. It's okay. The transiting moon echoes real fast. Venus, okay, so Venus is over here at transiting Venus up here in the 10th house is at 16 degrees Libra. Yeah, I just have to mention this one because this one, well, actually I got to mention a couple more. I'll try to hurry up here. Venus is 16 degrees, and it it just squared squared, went past all of the stuff. So it hasn't been nice. Look at Venus up here, 16 now, going direct. But Venus goes in the last few months, it's been going over this, and look at the crap that's been going on, all the lead up to the election, and now the fraud, the stuff that's following it. And that's, look at 16 degrees, it just passed over the United States' sun. 13 degrees, when was that? Probably just a few days ago. Look at this. Let's look. Venus. Yeah, it's like, all right, when was the 4th? So 9 degrees. Let's see, last week, 7, 6, 7. Yeah, 6, 7. Right, last week it was like 6, 7. It's like almost a degree and a half, almost 2. Yeah, like a degree and a half a day. So it's picking up some more speed. So yeah, this last week you can see Venus is what you like, and it's nice and the things you want, and it's been making this horrible square of United States sun. Look at what a horrible week this has been, embarrassing and nasty, and you know, it's like, but look, it's moving past. But now it's moving ahead, and it's gonna square the United States' Mercury. So we still got more challenges to you know, we got the mental, the communications, and then things that should be going the right way. But you know, Venus is fast, so it'll pass. But that's, you know, expect more of this crap. I'm just showing you how to read this stuff. And then look at here, transiting Mercury, just like you know, it's now at 29 degrees, the end of this. So it just finished going over all that too. So both of those and both of those, look at, it's like we got both of those in here of the United States, and then both of the transiting. So both transiting planets were aspecting both planets, United States, of that nice things and communication, you know, our wants, you know, Venus, our money, what we like, Mercury, our communications, our ability to speak. Both of those were in flux, going over all that, raking it, brum, 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 many different ways. All right, so that stuff is moving on. So we got a little rough road, and again, I think it's going to affect more people that are asleep. So the more you can get your mind around everything, get the big picture, go deeper, look behind the mainstream media, go get some other reports, get yourself some other information. And now it's going crazy. I mean, I get, you know, sending and receiving data. I get, you know, videos. I get different message platforms, people sending me stuff. I send something out, and then it comes in through somebody else, the same thing back. But information is really, really moving, and people are on it. I mean, they're on it. And this is what we all need to do. We got to, people have been walking away from Hollywood, walking away from sports. They've just been, what's that word? Oh, I don't know. I can't think of the words there. But anyway, people are moving away from that crap because they don't want to, they want to watch the real substance. They want, those have been hijacked too. They don't want virtue signaling. They don't want to watch virtue signaling. They want real stuff, but people are not watching that, and they would rather watch some good, hear a good debate or find out the politics of something, or they'd rather spend the time doing that investigative research and journalism and looking for themselves. So changing, these things are definitely changing, but we've got a rough ride ahead. And my thoughts are, if you can understand this, you can get ready for yourself, get your family ready, you got to act locally, get your as close people around you kind of informed, and we just have to all keep informing one another and keep information in the loop. And I confirm it with astrology, because you can just check this over and over and over and over and over and over again. So this is interesting. I think the United States chart, transits, looking at where they're at in your chart, and just using this ancient science. It's definitely a science, and there's math. You see all the math involved in doing this, and we get it. This chart, we don't have to do anything to get it. I can just press some buttons, which used to have to do all the handwork. But this is real. This is good information to have, and I hope you enjoyed this and can apply it to your own chart and your own life. All right, we'll see you next week.